So today's video was the most requested video on our channel, guys. I will be building the ultimate budget category gaming PC for around 30,000 rupees using AMD's brand new 3rd gen Ryzen 3 3100 CPU. Hey guys, it's Vimal here and welcome back to another video on my channel. So today's video is going to be super exciting because I'm back with a brand new budget category build, and this one will be around like 30,000 rupees budget, guys, because that is what a lot of people have requested me on my other PC build videos. So they've said that, hey Vimal, can you do a new 2020 edition budget gaming PC around 30,000 rupees using AMD's new 3rd gen Ryzen 3 3100, and that is what I'll be doing exactly in this video. So guys, see, Ryzen 3 3100 is a CPU and not an APU, right? So to make a gaming PC around this budget, you have to use a dedicated GPU. Without that, it's not possible. And the problem here was, by using a dedicated GPU, the price of this build was going higher and not coming within the 30k budget. So what I've done was, I had to actually go to a second-hand market and get a, I had to scavenge a second-hand GPU for this build. There's actually a story for this. I'll tell you about that in a moment. First, let me tell you about the other components one by one. So first, let's talk about the CPU that I'll be using in this build. As I've told you just now, we are using Ryzen 3 3100, which is AMD's brand new 3rd gen CPU. It's a 4-core 8-thread CPU with a base clock frequency of 3.6 GHz and a max boost clock frequency of 3.9 GHz. It's a very good CPU on a budget, guys, and costs only around like 8,500 rupees. You will get to see the performance of this CPU in this video, so stay tuned for that. Now coming to the GPU, this was the most crucial thing for this build, and also I faced some issues. Like, issue was with the pricing. See, if you go with a brand new GPU, then the price of this build will definitely go higher, which I didn't want it to happen. That's why I had to go to a second-hand market in Hyderabad. There's actually a big second-hand market in Hyderabad, guys, in my city, and you'll find a lot of computer items over there for big discounts, like expensive items for almost like 40% off, 50% off also sometimes. So I was actually looking for a GPU over there, and I saw a lot of GPUs over there, like 1050 Ti's, 1060s and 1030s also. But I was looking for something else, and luckily I came to a store. That guy was selling a GTX 970 that was in really good condition for around like 7,000 rupees. I thought GTX 970 is a really good combination for this CPU in this budget. So what I've done was, I talked to him like, how much can you reduce this GPU for me? I really want to take that. I need that. And he was like, nahi bhai, nahi hoega. Last price is 7,000 only. If you want to take it. He was talking like that. I said, arey, reduce the price now. I really want to take that. And I bargained with him, and the last price he gave me, the GPU, was around 6,000 rupees. So I finally snatched a GTX 970 from him for only 6,000 rupees, guys. When it came out in the market, 4 years ago, it's a 4-year-old GPU. It was around like 26,000, I believe, and I got it for 6,000 in today's market. Not bad deal, guys. It's actually pretty good. GTX 970 comes with 4 gigs of GDDR5 memory, and it outperforms even the 1050 Ti and is nearly similar to I can say RX 570. So 6,000 rupees GPU in this budget was perfectly affordable. So this is the GPU I got, guys. This is Zotac GTX 970. You can see it over here. It was in good condition, hence I took it. So that was about the GPU. Now coming to the RAM, I'm using a single 8GB DDR4 RAM from Corsair. It's the Vengeance LPX model, clocked at 2400 MHz. That costs only around like 3,000 rupees in our market. So that was about the RAM. Now what else is left? If you talk about the motherboard, now there was no option for me because I only had one motherboard currently with me on a budget price. That one is AB350N from Gigabyte. So this is what I'll be using. The thing is, guys, if you're actually building this PC, instead of the 350, I would suggest you to go with at least B450 series motherboard, guys. This is available for like 6,000 in the market. It's an old motherboard, right? So 6,000 only. But see, if this is not available, go with the B450 series motherboard. You'll get that for around like 7,000 rupees. That's it. And one more thing, whenever you're using this brand new Ryzen CPUs on older gen motherboards like 350 or maybe B450 also, you'll have to update the BIOS on the motherboard first, guys, without which your PC will not switch on. So that is very important. Even if you're buying a second hand component also, make sure that ask the seller to update the BIOS to the latest version and check the CPU if it's booting or not, then only buy it. That is very crucial, never forget that. So this is a motherboard I'm using. And coming to what else is left, power supply. For this build actually 550 watt power supply will be more than enough, but I currently don't have a 550 watt power supply. That's why I'll be using something from Corsair. It's the VS 650 watt power supply. You can go with a 550 watt from maybe Corsair or Cooler Master, which will cost you around like 3400 rupees. And lastly, coming to the cabinet, here I'll leave this choice to you, because see, you can buy any gaming PC case of your choice anywhere around 2000 to 2500 rupees. So this whole build will come only around like 30 to 31,000 rupees, guys. And let me tell you, it offers some really promising results. You can play excellent 1080p gaming on it, and not just gaming, you can even do some decent productivity works as well. So this is the configuration we will be building today. So let's quickly get started with the video. Building a PC is very simple, as I always say. Just follow my video step by step and you'll be done in no time. So the first thing you'll need to do is install the CPU on the motherboard. The AB350N comes with an AM4 socket and supports all the second and third gen Ryzen CPUs, even the new XT edition ones. Lift the lever to open the socket on the motherboard. Now take the CPU, and before installing it, make sure to check and align the gold triangle on the CPU with the engraved triangle on the socket. After checking for that, gently drop the CPU and finish the installation by pulling the lever down to lock the CPU in its place. And that's it, we've successfully installed our CPU. Next, we need to fix the cooler. We're using the stock cooler only, which you get with the Ryzen CPU. So before installing it, make sure to apply some thermal paste on the CPU. Thermal paste is very crucial. Always make sure you use some good quality ones like this Deepcool Z3, which is affordable and gets your job done. My stock cooler already came with a pre-applied layer of thermal paste on the bottom. That's why I'm not applying again separately. Just place the cooler on top of the CPU and use a screwdriver to tighten up all the screws on the four corners. And that's it, the installation of the cooler is also done. Also, make sure to connect the cooler's fan cable to the 4-pin CPU fan header on your motherboard. Now time to install the RAM stick. We are using only one single 8GB DDR4 RAM stick from Corsair. It's a Vengeance LPX model clocked at 2400 MHz. We'll be installing this in the primary RAM slot of the motherboard. Open the lever like this and push it gently until the lever locks itself. And we're done with the RAM part also. Time to install the motherboard in the case. But before that, don't forget to install the I/O shield. Budget mobos come with this sort of separate I/O shield, whereas expensive models come with a pre-installed I/O shield. Let's move on with the motherboard. The AB350N is a mini ITX mobo and looks very small in size. And as I've told you, we're using Corsair's budget mid-tower case, the 110R, which supports most of the motherboard form factors and has decent cable management support. Now take some screws and start fixing the motherboard. Go in a zigzag pattern and don't over tighten the screws. So we are almost halfway done. The only few things left are the graphics card, storage and the power supply. So here's our Zotac GTX 970. GPU should always be installed in the PCI slot closest to the CPU. And lastly, install the power supply. The case has a separate section for the power supply with a PSU shroud as well, so you can neatly hide all the cables. So take the power supply in and fix it using some screws. And that's it, guys, we're almost done with the build. Now what I'll do is I'll quickly install the SSD, connect all the power supply cables and be right back to continue the video. Alright, I'm back and here's how our final build looks like. Not bad for a budget build, right? Looks clean. The cable connections are also very simple. You only needed to connect the motherboard's 24-pin cable, 8-pin cable for the CPU and a 6 plus 6-pin cable for the GPU. Remaining all are the simple front panel I/O cables like USB, power, reset and HD audio. So now it's time to power it on and see how this build looks like. Damn guys, this 30K PC looks good actually. Like, it's not completely simple also. It does have some lighting thanks to those RGB fans from Aerocool. They're very affordable fixed RGB lighting fans called the Cosmo 12, and each of them costs only around 350 rupees. I like the look of the case also. It's a mid-tower case with a transparent acrylic side panel, a PSU shroud, and also has decent amount of vents for airflow. It'll be great for a black themed PC as well. Just have a look at these clips. Talking about the performance, this PC build is a bang for your buck. Seriously, the 30,000 rupees that you'll be spending to build this PC, it'll offer you excellent performance in that segment. No matter for your office work, home purpose, or even 1080p gaming needs, this will get your job done. I've run some Geekbench 4 benchmarks as well, and here are the results. The Ryzen 3 3100 got some impressive single and multi-core scores, and here's the setup we'll be using for today's testing. The same as usual, a 24-inch 1080p IPS Infinity monitor from LG, and the other peripheral links will be in the description box below. Now let's finally jump into the gaming. We'll be playing some AAA title games at 1080p resolution and see how the build performs. By the way, I'm using a joystick to play all these games, and you can keep a track on all the PC stats at the top left and right corners of the display. As I've told you, we're playing this game Doom Eternal at 1080p resolution with the graphics set to high. I couldn't go beyond that. As you can see, the VRAM was already occupied fully, so just sit back, relax and enjoy the gameplay. Holy smokes, you guys seen those frame rates? What? That is crazy! A 30,000 rupees build is offering you a buttery smooth 1080p gaming with an average frame rate of around 80 frames per second. Not bad actually, I'm quite impressed with the build. You'll have a great time playing games on it. Ryzen 3100 was doing a very good job for the price. It was easily hitting 3.9 GHz max boost frequency even at the stock settings, and was reaching a temperatures of around 66 to 67 degrees with the stock cooler. So by using a good quality air cooler, the CPU temps can even be further brought down. Couple that CPU with a good GPU and boom, mind-blowing results. This build is also upgradable in the future. For your info, you can replace that GTX 970 with something like a 1660 Ti and that 8 gigs of RAM with 16 gigs, and you'll have an excellent gaming system capable of hitting very high frame rates. Let's also play GTA 5 and see. We're playing this game also at 1080p resolution with the graphics set to very high, so let's check out the results. Now that is what I'm talking about. A rock solid 1080p 60 FPS gaming at very high graphics settings. You'll surely enjoy gaming on this build. You can reduce the graphics from very high to high and easily hit around like 75 frames per second. Well, that's it guys, time to wrap it up. Let me quickly summarize all the component prices for this build. The Ryzen 3 3100 CPU costs around 8,500 rupees. My second-hand Zotac GTX 970 costed me around 6,000 rupees. Gigabyte's AB350 and Wi-Fi motherboard cost 6,000 rupees. And coming to the RAM, Corsair's Vengeance LPX 8GB DDR4 RAM is available for 3,000. A basic 240GB SSD will cost you 2,400 rupees. Cooler Master's MW550 power supply is priced for 3,400. And lastly, choose any PC case of around 2,000 rupees. So based on this, the total budget of this build comes down to 31,300 rupees. And this, my friends, is the ultimate configuration you can build in this price segment. Well, that's it for today. I hope you all really enjoyed the video and got to learn a lot. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more awesome videos. And I'll see you in the next one.